1. Good evening, welcome to tonight's Hearthstone Half Hour. I'm Hammy, this is FailCraft Casts. Hope you're well and good. It is Monday the 21st of July, and that means it is one day for you people on the American servers until Curse of Naxxramas goes live. We are going to be doing a quick update on the new cards that have been announced by Blizzard. Just one day until the Americans can get your hands on it. If you're European, maybe it's going to be late on the Tuesday, early on the Wednesday the 23rd. So let's take a look at that. Without further ado, today is Monday, so that means it is New Player Monday. We get to know our enemy, it's a deck garage, whatever you'd like to call it. We jump on in and take a look at a deck either we've been playing a bunch of, or you guys might have requested in some cases, or we've seen a bit on the ladder and we just want to explore. So this is a deck guide, a run through for new players. No better way of learning more about the game, getting to know your opponent and that you're playing against, than playing as the deck and understanding yourself. So we're taking a look at a deck that hit early Legend. There are various versions. Trump has done a version, Strifecall has done a version, and has other people as well. But we're looking at a version by someone called Virtue 3333333. It is Ramp Druid, but it is a slightly different Ramp Druid, and we're going to explain a little bit about what Ramp Druid is. Now, for those of you who have seen our previous Ramp Druid guide, you'll already know what we're talking about, so we'll quickly run through the concept of Ramp Druid and then we'll explain why this deck differs. So the way this episode works, firstly we build a deck, we explain the cards as we go, we then jump on in to some games afterwards, and we play a couple of games either on the ladder and casual mode. Probably going to play casual mode this evening to explore it, to show you that deck in practice. So build a deck, understand how it works in a very basic sort of easy way, and then play it a bit to see if we can see some of the ways that deck works in action. So without further ado, let us jump into my collection. So we are doing a Ramp Druid. Now you can see I love Ramp. We're going to quickly run through the concept of Ramp Druid for those of you who haven't seen it before. This is a Ramp Druid deck. What does ramping mean? If you look at Hearthstone Half Hour, episode 50, we call it shaving. Really it's ramping, but the concept is the same, even though I called it something silly. Ramping is accelerating your deck, getting yourself an advantage in an as efficient way as possible to get some kind of foot up on the opponent. So how do you get an advantage? You play bigger cards more quickly. How do you accelerate them through? Well, Druid has various cards that will let you accelerate and get your deck going more quickly. Play cheaper cards for less mana. Play bigger cards for less mana. Play cards more cheaply earlier in the game. And that is ramping in a nutshell. And then how does that give you an advantage over your opponent? Well, you have bigger, scarier minions and or cards out before they do, and then that means you have additional turns with those minions to do something. So let's have a look at this Ramp Druid. What have we got? We've got cards like Innovate. That mean you can gain 2 mana crystals for 1 turn only. So instead of playing a 2 mana card, you can play a 4 mana card, 3 mana card, 5 mana card, and so on and so forth. What happens if you go second? Well, with the coin, instead of playing a 1 mana card, you could play off a 4 mana card. You can play an additional 3 mana's worth a turn if you have Innovator and the coin, if you play second. That is ramping in its purest form. If I can play a Chillwind Yeti for 4 mana on turn 1 with an Innovate and a coin, so that's +2 +1 mana plus the 1 mana you already have equals 4, then that is ramping in its purest form, and that is what Ramp Druid tries to do. Ramp Druid has other cards. It has Wild Growth that gains an empty mana crystal, it has Nourish, gain 2 mana crystals or draw 3 cards, and it has lots and lots of little mini ramps, mini miracles as they can be called, like the Miracle Rogue, that let you get bigger, scarier stuff out more quickly. And that really, in a very short summary, is what Ramp Druid is. You can take control of the game earlier, take control of the board earlier, and there are various cards that help you. This version builds up big tanks. You've got Faceless Manipulators, which mean you can copy your big tanks. So this Ramp Druid revolves around getting big tanks out earlier in the game. And then you've got finishers, the big mana cards, Ragnaros and Ysera. They can come out if you ramp quick enough earlier in the game than your opponent's big cards. So you get the drift. We are absolutely going to be getting bigger, scarier cards out than our opponent more early in the game. So that's a ramp deck in a very, very quick sense. That's another sense of ramp we've got. Dave says in chat, I'm missing Ken, so I subbed in an extra big game. You know what, that works absolutely perfectly. There's nothing wrong. Ken is a good tempo card, but he's not essential. You can swap in more attacking threats, so you can swap in more removal. So another big game hunter would be absolutely fair to remove your opponent's big threats too. Or you could perhaps drop, you know, this deck does not have Chillwind Yetis in. You could throw in more Chillwind Yetis, more attacking threats rather than Ken. So there you go. That is a Ramp Druid. Okay, so now we're going to build what has been sort of called by a few different people a mid-range range Ramp Druid, but it has a slightly different finishing mechanic. It's gone to Legend. We always generally pick decks that have got to Legend, or someone's gone to Legend or thereabouts, and we try and pick a range of decks from very expensive dust decks, very expensive in terms of legendary cards, to cheap decks as well. There's a bit in the middle. So this is a Ramp Druid deck. The idea of this is to ramp into minions in the mid-game minions, start drawing through and taking table control in the mid-game, and then finish with a different combo. Now this one is a Savage Roar, Force of Nature. We'll just take a look at Savage Roar and Force of Nature to show you how those two work together in a very simple way. So let's grab Savage Roar. Savage Roar, give your characters 2 attack this turn, or that's not only my hero, but that's every minion I have on the board. So that is like a Bloodlust, but a Druid Bloodlust, isn't it? And I'll show you Bloodlust of a Shaman so you just quickly know what I mean. Bloodlust. 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 It's because I'm in Druid. That's why. Anyway, Savage Roar, that is what that will let us do. That is a finisher. We want lots of minions on the board, and then we throw down Savage Roar. Now, what happens if we have Force of Nature? Wow, you can see that Force of Nature, you summon 3 2/2 Treants, so with charge that die at the end of the turn. So if I summon 3 Treants for 6 mana, and then I cast Savage Roar for 3 mana, then for 9 mana I have, let's do the maths quick, I have 4, 8, 12 damage. Remember, my hero also gets another +2 damage, so I will get 14 damage. And then the more minions I have on the table, the more Savage Roar buffs other minions. So if I've got minion table control, if I've got table control in this deck at this stage, then I can effectively in the late game play Force of Nature and Savage Roar, or some combo of those two for the win. So that's my finisher rather than the other cards you know, that we saw in the other deck like Ragnaros and Ysera. I'm trying to ramp to get lots of minions on the table, get control of the board, and then Force of Nature, stroke Savage Roar for the win. Now if I've got enough minions down, I don't even need to Force of Nature. I can just Savage Roar because I've already got a board full of minions that I can use to get that additional 2 attack on. So that is the core, that's kind of the end game of this deck. That's, if we don't win the game early enough, then that's where we're going towards the end. But what cards do we have to make this a ramp? Well, it's not going to surprise you that we share several of these. Oh, I think I might have Golden Innovates. He likes the shinies. We like the shinies indeed. No, we don't have Golden Innovates yet. To innovate, as we discussed, innovate for 0 mana. You are gaining 2 mana for this turn only. That lets you get out your scarier cards more early. That is what innovate is. Innovate is pure ramp. It lets you play bigger, scarier cards more quickly, and we will save that to combo with whatever card we may need given the matchup that we have. If you have an innovate in your first hand, you always want to keep it. You generally don't want to mulligan or throw away or trade it an innovate for anything in particular. Next up, and no surprise, good afternoon, Mouse Hunter. It's good to see you as well. We are ramp druiding today. We're going to grab a shiny Wild Growth. Number 2. Wild Growth, again, we discussed in our other ramp deck. This is how we ramp up. You gain an empty mana crystal. So if I don't have an innovate, if I have a Wild Growth in my hand, I'll probably keep it. And then turn 2, if I don't have anything else I can drop, I might just throw down a Wild Growth, and although it takes up my 2 mana, it will give me that mana crystal back as well, and I'm already ahead by 1 mana. So again, this makes sure that you are having more mana than your opponent, but you sacrifice early game drops or early game plays for mid game plays coming more quickly. So again, that helps you ramp, gets you further ahead. Next up we have Wrath, and again you see this in ramping decks. So generally, because a ramp is trying to get out mid-game cards earlier, it sacrifices early game presence. So you do need things to try and cover you just in case you don't get the draw you want. So Wrath is really that kind of example. Wrath is a control card. It is designed to help you in a bad situation, or or in a good situation. In a bad situation, you keep Wraths and you try and use them to remove your opponent's early game minions, stay alive, put that pressure down, and keep on rolling until you can get your mid-game minions out with your ramping. So Wrath, either 3 damage to remove a minion, or you can 1 damage to a minion and draw a card. It is a control card to keep you alive in the early game. If you have ramped and got a perfect draw in the late game, Wrath can help you damage minions, pick through tanks, other such things, but it's generally a control for the early game. And next up we have 2 Sun Fury Protector. Excellent card. You will see this in all kinds of decks that throw out big, nasty, horrible minions. It gives you tanks. Now if you ramp some good mid-game minions out early, which we'll see in a second, then you can then compound your opponent's misery, or compound your advantage on the game by making them taunting cards too. If I get Chill and Yeti 10 out turn 2, and then suddenly it has a tank on it by turn 3, and that can just about happen, then my opponent is going to be struggling to remove those cards because they're so big so early in the game. Right, we've got Savage Roars, so you know what's going on there. Next we have just the one Big Game Hunter in this version. A Big Game Hunter is a tech card. Now by tech means it's a card that is dropped in there for a particular situational use. Now the situational use of the Big Game Hunter should be fairly obvious. Destroy a minion with attack of 7 or more. If your opponent is throwing out Ragnaros's big tanks, you might want to use it to punch through another big tank or something similar. You need to get past it. Big Game Hunter is very mana efficient. For just 3 mana you can take probably a 7, 8, 9, 10 mana card off the deck with your Big Game Hunter. So he is removal, that is his purpose. You will use him to remove something nasty. And next up we have the Harvest Golem. The Harvest Golem, you see him in aggro decks, you see him in mid-range decks, and the reason for Harvest Golem just being so omnipresent is because he's awkward to get rid of this early in the game. Even if you ramp into a Harvest Golem in turn 1, suddenly he's so awkward to get rid of with that 3 health. You can throw taunts down on him with Sun Fury Protector. You can make these into tanks. As soon as they die, they're 2-for-1s, they come back with another damage golem, and they can really help you get control of a board in the early game. Next up we have Swipe. Swipe helps us keep the table under control, very useful against aggro, and gives additional damage for getting rid of big minions or damaging our enemy hero. So multiple uses for Swipe, 2 of them very handy for keeping the board under control, as well as doing damage to selected single targets, be that enemy heroes or enemy big minions. Against anything like a zoo, if you're swiping, you're just cutting through loads of small health minions, which is excellent. The Skill Wind, and we got golden ones, yay! Right, Chillwind Yeti is a basic card, he's just a Chillwind Beast. Now, notice we at the very beginning of the episode said he costs 4 mana. Now, if you play second as a druid and you have a coin and an innovate, then you can get this guy out turn 1. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It's so dangerous. But the Chillwind Yeti, for reasons, if you ramp into a Yeti, he can give you really good early game board presence and control. If you turn him into a tank with a Sun Fury Protector, he's the example of the mid game minion you want to get out as soon as possible. Good attack, good health, all over. Good guy Yeti is what we should call him if he was a meme. Next up, 2 Keeper of the Grove. Now these sharpen a lot of druidy decks. The double purpose, 2 damage lets you pick through minions, remove small minions. It can really help against rush decks, against zoo and things. The silence lets you remove tanks, nasty abilities against a shaman, remove that flame tongue totem. All kinds of things can be silenced too. So the dual utility of this card, and you know, he can help against rushes. He's a body. If you turn him into a tank with Sun Fury Protector, he can help slow down your opponent. Lots of good uses. Turn 1 Yeti equals good game, says Mouse Hunter. Yeah, a lot of the time it can be, unless your opponent can get back real quick. But Keeper of the Grove is a utility card. 2 of him is never a bad idea because he can just help you in a lot of different ways with that ability there. Force of Natures, we've got 2 of those in already. You have seen the purpose of those, so we shall not dwell on it too long. We'll grab an Argent Commander. We can ramp into a Commander as a last resort, but really his purpose is for trades. The Bubble and the Charge mean that we can help use him to get through tanks, reduce big health minions, or he can be an execute combo in the late game for some late game damage to keep the pressure on. Sunwalker is our next option. Now Sunwalker is another great option to ramp into. If we need to slow our opponent down, we can innovate, ramp into the Sunwalker. Again, if we have him out early, then he'll be very helpful. The Taunt and Divine Shield mean that you need to remove his bubble and then remove him as well. So he is slowing your opponent down, and a very solid early game drop if you can ramp into him. Next, the Black Knight, the Tank Buster, the Taunt Breaker. Destroying any minion with Taunt. Again, he's a mana efficient, kind of like Big Game Hunter but for tanks. So if my opponent's thrown down an Ancient of War, the Druid, which is 5 attack 10 health, throwing down sort of Ironbark Protector. As a Druid, again, any big nasty tank. If I'm playing a handlock deck, we are going to go through the Nax cards later. I've not seen them all yet. We're going to do a quick run through them after we finish this part of the Hearthstone half hour. So we'll have a quick look. I'm going to be new to some of them, so I look forward to going through them with you. Next up, Black Knight. As we said, he's a tank buster. You know, a sort of an 8-in warthog, plane-wise of the Hearthstone world. He'll come in and bust up those tanks like no one's business. Oh, military airshow reference. That might be not some of your cups of tea, but yeah, he busts up your tanks, and you use him instead of getting rid of big attack minions. It gives you an additional option of getting 3 tanks. So if we're going for the win with our final combo and we want to remove those tanks, we need them. Next up, 2 Ancients of Law. Now the Ancient of Law, you will use him probably for heals, but also if you really need in the late game, if you need to heal to stay alive, but if we can bust someone down, he'll heal us back up. But also he gives the option of drawing 2 cards. Oh, so much Hearthstone news we need to catch up on this evening. We can use him again. He's another utility card like our friend the Keeper of the Grove. A lot of the time we'll use it for a heal, but if we need to draw out a few more cards to get our winning combo, we'll draw into the Ancient of Law. Oh, I've missed something. Excellent. There we go. I'm going to go back. Druid of the Claw. You could saw like in our other deck, again, utility. We can charge in for the attack and for the win if we're well on top of the board, or if we need to slow things down or put up some tanks, we can throw in him for 2 health and taunt mode, make him a 4 attack, 6 health taunting beast. So all good there too. Yes, I think that I've also missed something else. Excellent. Is it just it was just the 1 Sun Fury Protector, and we've got the 2 Rafts in there. Okay, Sun Fury Protector we're teching up with. It helps. Yep, how could I forget? Right, so as you're ramping into the mid game, you want some not only card draw, but you want bodies on the table. Now by bodies I mean solid minions with solid stats that you can use to help trade and help slap the damage back down onto your opponent. So Sunwalker comes under that, and the Azure Drake is a perfect example. He's really nice because not only do you get the battle cry of a card draw, it helps you push through the mid game, but that spell damage +1, don't forget that effect swipe, wrath. It will help you put more damage on the table with the couple of druid spells you use as well, so that is really nice. Now the last option, now I don't have this card, which is a little bit annoying. Maybe I'll craft him next. Cenarius is in this version, so we'll need to swap Cenarius for something else. There are other cards we can swap in, but what does Cenarius do? In the late game he gives your other minions 2/2, so you can charge in and use him to help your other minions win the game, or you can throw up more treants with taunt to cement your sort of advantage on the table. And of course he's got nice attack and health as well, so we don't have Cenarius as a finisher, so we need something else late game that will help us finish off the game, in so many words. Okie dokie. So let's go and see what we can pick as a late game minion with similar mana that we can use to finish this game with. How can we finish someone off? There are versions that use Malagos. Ragnaros, yep, that's a fair call. Alexstrasza could also be an option actually. We could Alexstrasza. Raggy will do well. If we ramp into a Raggy, that's never going to be too bad. I agree with you, Mouse. So that is our Ramp Druid. Just to review our strategy before we go into the next part, what we are going to do with our Ramp Druid is, in the early game we're going to try and mulligan and grab a whole bunch of ramping cards. So what we really kind of want is Innovates, Wild Growths and similar in the early game, if at all possible. We always want to mulligan and to try and get an Innovate or a Wild Growth, particularly against Warlocks. Similar other kinds of things, like, you know, Zoo kind of things come through and other things like that. Matchups, we really just want Wild Growth and Innovate if we have the coin. That helps us even more. Rag and Ysera, yeah, both very, very solid options, and Ysera is a killer. Let's go for Ragnaros to start with. Okie dokie, so we want to ramp up, we want to get Innovates, Wild Growths and similar. We want to get those big cards out as soon as possible, get mid-game pressure. Note our mana curve, we've got sort of a lot of mid-game pressure. We want to just keep playing cards and get our mid-game minions out as soon as possible, keep the table under control, and then accelerate out our finishes. So let us, without further ado, jump straight into a game to show you how this could work. I'm going to go into casual now. It's very unlikely that I'm going to make Legends before the end of the season yet again. So let's see what we can do to show off this deck. And had some nice holiday, had to have some time off. I got to the end of my job the last month of my holiday and realised, oh, you know, I've got 25 holiday days I should have taken in the year. I had something like 18 left to take in a month. So that was me being terrible at taking holiday as well as work being very busy. So I've used those holiday days to get out and about and spend some quality time with my wise half and get a dog. So Priest, okay, Priest is a very random deck, but remember we're playing casual, you don't see so many Priests. Basically we've got a lot of minions with 4 attack. We want Innovates, Wild Growths and Golems. Well, we've got a Wild Growth, I'm going to fall on Mulligan because I'm also going second, so I could do with an Innovate. I could have kept the Yeti. That could have been quite good. I may regret that. Yes, I'm going to regret that. I should have kept the Yeti. The Golem would have been good to get more early game pressure on, but because I'm going second, I've also got the coin, so we can really ramp up early. Now, I'm actually going to... now I could Innovate into a Wild Growth for 3 mana next go, but there's nothing I can actually play. So all that will do is stick me 1 ahead. I can actually tap on the table for the time being. So remember, of course, that the Wild Growth will give you the additional 1 mana back. So if you can find a way of using that, that's good. Next up, okay, right, well, you know what, we're just going to Wild Growth it. That's fine. We can then ramp into a Keeper of the Grove or something similar a little bit earlier. So you can see we've thrown out our Wild Growth. That's popped us into an extra mana crystal. So already we have matched up with our opposing priest in terms of mana, and we have the coin in our pocket, so we can actually drop a turn 5 minion. Next go. Okie dokie. So I can put a tank up. I can just swipe. Yeah, actually it's probably worth my while just playing control. So remember that we want to try and keep the table under control as well. I'm just going to go ahead and swipe that because I don't want him healing it up with a circle of healing, getting a Northshire priest on the table, starting his card draw. That's very aggressive of me, but I've not ramped quite as quick. Okay, he's got a Yeti down, but remember, of course, we're a good turn ahead, so we're quite happy with that. Here's your Drake. I think it might be a good time to drop into that. I cannot quite accelerate into an Ancient of Law, but I can next go. So I'm going to throw down the Drake. That gives me the battle cry of drawing a card. He can trade for me or similar. I powered up my swipe. If he doesn't trade for me, I can take out that Yeti next go as well. Welcome to those of you who just joined. Okay, we see a charge in, he's healed himself up, he's Thought Stealed. I hate Thought Steal from Priest, it causes so many nasty combinations. We've got Supreme Ramping ability now. So what can we drop? Right, well I think a swipe to remove him is fairly sensible. That then gives us the opportunity to really ramp out something else. We could try and get a Druid of the Claw and a swipe into play. That would be hyper aggressive. Other options, we can Keeper of the Grove and swipe or similar. We've got, of course, got that 2 damage as well, and that could be a nice option. Just getting Grove down on the table. The Druid of the Claw would be equally nice because that will help us hit the next turn. Right, let's do the mana math. We have 6, we have 7, 8, 9 mana that we can play. So that will let us swipe and Druid of the Claw quite nicely. We can Keeper of the Grove and swipe also, but then we'll have 1 left over. Let's use our 4 mana. So we'll Innovate, we will coin our Druid of the Claw, and I'm going to make him Bear Form just to get a tank on the table, and then the swipe will let me remove the mid table and get everything nice and controlled up. So there we go. Done. So although we didn't ramp into the mid-game minions as early as we wanted this game, you can see that we actually got a heck of a lot, beg pardon my language, of reach there. So we could actually reach out, play a lot more than the mana's worth that we had. Oh, another Chillwind Yeti going down, trying to put the pressure on, healing himself up. But we now can push forward to try and... Oh, okie dokie. Ice Cold, welcome to you as well, sir. So our friend is... Oh, and you see if I just save one more guy, I could have ramped out Ragnaros one more turn early. That would have been very satisfying indeed. So we can start setting up some trades here. There's no point in Savage Roaring. An Ancient of Law would really let me cement my hold on the game, because it means I can draw another couple of cards. So options, Keeper of the Grove, I'm going to drop him down. Now I could silence, I'm actually going to do the 2 and go for the trade because I want to keep this table under control. So I'm going to trade it away. I know that he can probably take this out next turn if he wants to. I'm going to shapeshift to get some armour on, and at the moment I have table presence. We do have Fortune of Nature, we do have Savage Roar too. The SWP goes down, Shadow Web Paint, that removes our Keeper. And he can trade this away too. He's got a Blindmaster down, so we've not got full table control, but I think it's probably worth by this stage just lobbing Rag down while we work. And there's no point growthing at this stage. I'm going to drop down Rag, RNGesus, RNGesus. Take out the Blade Master. Oh, okay, right. He will have options, including Shadow of Death, to remove our Ragnaros, or he might be able to trade with some, say, Holy Fire in his minion. So he will have options to take us down, but he now immediately has to at least deal with this. And of course, he does not have mind control. Yep, there's the death. We expected that. And he'll keep the pressure on. We now have a healed card. Could we have removed that? Not quite. Shield. Okay, that's going to be awkward. But he's sacrificed healing himself for getting a huge minion on the table. Oh, big tank as well. There we go. We do not have a BGH to remove that with. But not to worry. So what can we do now? Well, the big game hunter's not going to help us. There's nothing to savage. We could savage Roar, but really that's not going to help us remove that minion in one go. I think the Ancient of Law is really the best option. We just need some cards. So I'm going to draw the cards. Druid of the Claw, lovely. Force of Nature. We've got a Force of Nature Roar combo up for the win, if we get that. Now remember that combo does, for 9 mana, 14 damage. Yeah, let me think. Yeah, 4, 8, 12. 12 damage, sorry. That's 3 minions with 4 attack. Oh yeah, and then 2 for my hero as well. Yeah, that does make 14. So I've got 14 damage that I can use there. I'm going to Wild Growth to get another Mana Crystal. Oh, misplay actually. Yeah, that was a misplay. Pardon me. What I should have done was play Shapeshift, because I would have had 10 mana next go anyway, I do believe. So it was a waste. And we see the Thought still come into play there because he manages to wrap us up. When Yeti goes down, oh, okay, so might have to Force of Nature and Roar just to try and remove some of these threats from the table. Yes! Oh, double Savage Roar. No, I can't quite ramp into that. It was a rush. It was a FailCraft fail of epic proportions. Okay, so I need to kind of calm this board down a bit. Force of Nature into Roar will give me 14. That will let me pretty much remove most of his threats if I really want to clear the table. And then I can sort of do a reset. So let's show you the combo. I do have another Force of Nature. I can Force of Nature into a Roar. There we go. Okay, so how can I save things? Well, I can do that. I'm going to take some damage on myself because I can still heal myself up. Now, 2 things I can do. I can charge into him again and heal up and wait, or I can just control the nastiness on this table. We are certainly called FailCraft for a reason. Now normally most people would rush in, but I know our priest can heal, so I'm going to go for extreme table control against my better judgment. Curse of Necromancer's hype. The hype train is arriving soon. Okay, PWS, shields up, draws a card. Now that shows you how that combo can work, but what we really wanted, that should have been our execute win combination. Okay, our priest is lacking some options, so what can we do now? Well, we can have a taunting Ancient of Law. We want to get minions down on the table, really. We can charge and Savage Roar next turn as well. So the Ancient of Law, we may as well, at this stage, I think it's probably worth healing ourselves up. No, actually, I think I'm going to take a risk and draw the 2. Oh, Black Knight, lovely. We can punch some minions down, the Chill and Yeti. I'm going to throw down the Sun Fury as well, and then that puts us in a good position next turn. Now note that with the Savage Roar we can have another 2 on top of those. That makes it from 7 to 9 to 11 to 13, and then I can throw down, if I want, my Druid of the Claw for another, think brain, 6, 19. Okay, he's removing there. The Death removes the Ancient of Law. He's throwing down all of his controls. The Smite removes another of our card, so we can be busting through, but he's lacking his finishes wherever they are, so we need to keep this pressure coming with the minions on the table. That will be hard for him to do things with, so the Azure Drake is a fine choice. I'm actually going to throw down the Druid of the Claw as a 2 health and taunt. I could have charged, but I'm going to keep the pressure on. With the Savage Roar, remember, just the more minions we have on the table, and I can Chill and Yeti, and I can Golem and similar. We can get some nice pressure down there. The Knight can bust through his tanks, so we will be good. Okie dokie. Our priest friend is contemplating. He's thrown down his own Azure Drake. The 4/6 Fairy Dragon. Yeah, the Spectral Knight. That's going to be a scary card. Okay, our priest is contemplating a bunch. So, what we're going to do, we will come back to this deck a bit in future episodes, but just to illustrate what we've been up to, we're only going to have time to finish this game, I think, because we want to charge through the new Naxxramas news as well this evening. But we have seen us ramp out some cards. We've not seen the ideal mid-game ramp that we were looking for, which is annoying. But we've still seen us ramp out some cards. We've seen the Savage Roar and Force of Nature combo, even though we had to use it to control the table. Oh, there goes the silence. And he has interestingly decided not to remove our tank. Oh, another Savage Roar combo. Right, can I win? Come on, guys. Do the maths. Do the maths. Do we have lethal? Do we have lethal? Do we have lethal? I've spelt lethal, lethal. Okay. Remember, we've got as much time as we like. We have 4. So at the moment we have 8 damage on the table. Now we can drop Force of Nature. That will give us another 6. So that 8 plus 6 is 14. Then if we Savage Roar, that gives us 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. I think we have more than enough. Yes, we do! I love that we have quick mathematicians. So this is how the Force of Nature Savage Roar combo works. Ladies and gentlemen, there you go. We then have all our Trounce. We then buff all of our characters. Yum. And from a position where we had to use one combo to control the board, we can then... No, I'm not going to bad manners. Not going to bad manners. Not going to bad manners. Well played. Boom! GG. GG. There we go. So thank you so much for tuning in to tonight's Hearthstone half hour. So what we did there is a bit of a new Player Monday. So what we did for you is just grab a deck, and our deck was none other than the mid-range Ramp Druid. We took a look at other Ramp Druids and how they ramp and accelerate their draw power and cards into more kind of late-game big minions. So here we've got Ragnaros and Ysera. More tanks, you can do a tanky version. What the version we went for was to actually power into mid-game minions a bit more. Although we didn't get our mid-game minions in the game we just played, you saw that we managed to ramp into some Ragnaros, bigger late-game combos. We managed to get a bit more cards down early than we could have done, and then we managed to trigger, instead of that other version that we saw that finished with big minions and tanks, we also managed to jump into Savage Roars and the lovely Force of Nature as well. So that is us for this evening. If you are live, don't go away. We're going to be doing a quick look at the Curse of Naxxramas cards that have been released today in celebration of Curse of Naxxramas, releasing tomorrow and Wednesday, Tuesday and Wednesday, July 22nd and 23rd in the US and EU respectively. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have been taking a look on YouTube, if you've been looking on YouTube, look out for our Naxxramas videos. You can find us live Monday to Friday at twitch.tv/FailCraft Cast. If you're watching live, don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. That is youtube.com/FailCraft Casts. As you can see, on that column on the left, there's the YouTube and Twitch. If you're watching this on YouTube, check out Twitch. If you're watching us on Twitch, don't forget to check out YouTube. We have Hearthstone, we have Heroes of the Storm we've been doing as well. We're looking to do some other games too. Tune in all of those different places. If you can't tune in or you're not able to watch a vid, tweet us at FailCraft Casts. The website is failcraft.org, wherever you fancy you get involved. And as always, if you liked what we did, share it with your friends. Let us know what we can do more. We just want to do more content that you enjoy. If you didn't like it, that's fine. Just let us know what we can do better in future. Tell us what we can improve. But if you say that we made bad plays, we know that happens. Feel free to tune in live or correct us to your heart's content in all the comments. So thanks so much for tuning in. I've been Hammy. If you're live, don't go away. We're going to take a look at Naxxramas cards in just a second. If you're anywhere else, thank you.